My friend, welcome to this episode. So, in this podcast, or the blog or whatever, I want to chat about cyber skills. It's a cliche. There is no security professional that doesn't do a video about it. And so, I want to do it, but in my own manner. I always took care to share info. If you go on my website, clos.net, you'll find the entire article explaining each professional profile, what to study, the syllabus, the books that I suggest. You'll find tons of things there. But in this talk, I want a chat with both people that just want to approach to cybersecurity job and people that is already in there and is struggling to keep up because all cyber talk about career and whatever always focus on certification when actually skills. You can have a certification and you can miss some skills for certain job. And so, are we tailoring the training on the job for tomorrow or not? And so, this one is the actual talk and the conversation that I want to have. So, I started 20 years ago when security was in IT security, and most was focused on security controls. You were going to have a lot of studies based on the infrastructure type, were really built into IT as a function. And was natural to finish a bit on the vendor side as well. So a lot of specialization on that specific type of firewall or whatever. Network security in terms of SOC was a lot pick up. Investigation was a lot of forensics, and it it should be updated a bit. And as you see, the market right now is having all these silos, quite vertical in somehow, where you are a pen tester, you are an incident responder, or you are a GRC kind. There is this role of a security architect, and there is the CISO in terms. And there are many other roles that are starting to become horizontal finally, where we do have SecDevOps, we do have a more modern approach to data, and I want to focus on that. So, do I think the actual path will be the job of the future? No. So I think we are having professional focus on just a tiny area and not actually on the real 360-degree picture. So I do think we are having too many specialized on just one small niche like mobile or whatever, and we are not melting that. So I forecast in the future the market will take care more of a mix of skills. So the job market of tomorrow will value more who does have a multitude of skills mixed together. One other common things that I think will be having automation skills and programming skills. I do see the management to move into a, an engineering management, more focus on how to deliver the security across the company. And so I do think there is going to be a completely different approach in incident response. And so I do see the data analytics skills to be more and more relevant into that. I do see data engineering to be more relevant. Pen testing, I think it will specialize way more into the cloud specific. So framework like Paco and all other. I see some training to move into that direction, but still too little. I hope, and it's my personal hope, that forensics will become another component more automated. But for sure, the Sec DevOps suppose that you have an understanding of a CI/CD, an understanding of from a developer perspective as well. And so I think that is the key point and key area where there is a big skill gap. I do personally try to fill the skill gaps, but I think for my profile, and I think in the industry we should be a bit more humble and understand which skills gaps we do have in our profile. I see CV that try to fall into a category, and the entire choices in terms of certification just based on that. And I think it's wrong. You need to follow the passion. You need to follow your curiosity. It shouldn't be just the collection of letters of a certification into your CV. And I do see too little not vendor oriented, also in cloud. I do see, for example, the pattern of Kubernetes certification going into security. There is an ad hoc Kubernetes certification for security. I see a lot of vendor neutral kind of path not followed by the trend of the industry, and I think is a problem because it should be more and more and more and more. I do see a gap in, for example, code QL skills, knowledge. That should be another area where people invest, and should we could find a better way to tailor training. Training to not be based on a career path, but to be based on the market requirement. That's, I think, is the biggest issue. So I do understand all pen testing career path. I do know that you need to go through basic. You can't jump just into the cloud specific. But let's be honest, a lot of this stuff is it's cloud-based and API-based. And so probably more attention into the API, for example, could be one of the biggest stress point for all this training. So I do see a lot of room of improvement, but I do witness also a lot of senior in the field confused on where to go. There is too much training, and you struggle to see what is next. And I think we need all to step back and think on what will be the future of the market. The future for me will be uh, incident response, big data, machine learning. You see all machine learning engine on top of whatever platform. You see the SOAR, you see the DevOps automation in there, playbook, um, continuous forensics potentially, I hope. You see pen testing, more framework cloud oriented, more capabilities to work on DLP. It could take a pattern on its own. I don't know. I do see CISO moving a bit more into those area, and so I do suppose there is room for a separated area into the engineering of DLP, multi-cloud DLP, I suppose, and I hope it could be one. All this attention to endpoint should give possibility that before we didn't have. So my suggestion for whatever seniority you have, also if you want to approach, think differently. Think on the skills. Don't think on fitting just the profile. I did notice something really that can be a fact check. Check it out. Companies like GitHub, Netflix, check their uh, Google or the other, but check their profiles. And so in terms of security, you notice how close is to see to software lifecycle, how close is to automation, and you'll see that it's actually the pattern. I think we are doing a wrong distinguish between engineering and architecture. I think it will melt a bit. It will be less enterprise view of the architecture, more solutioning, because in terms of cloud, it's difficult that you define a framework that it doesn't fit into the product. And so it's reverting a bit the trend. It's becoming more solutioning than the more enterprise. Don't take me wrong, you still need the enterprise in terms of governance and whatever, but it's also true that it's difficult to have a conversation if you don't stay into that field. And so we will not become flatter, but we will become a melt of skills. All the roles will become with more knowledge. Also the pen tester. So far, the pen testing is too focused on capture the flag more than understanding the technology. I think we will reach a complexity layer where, and we already witnessed that, where the pen tester need the tool to get the ready meal on something, but to be different, to add the value, you need to have knowledge of of the underneath under the bonnet technology. So I think it will be a big driver. I don't see many professionals spending too much time into the knowledge, the Kubernetes side, for example, or other stuff. Don't take me wrong, it's not only that, but it's probably the technology that does have a completely different approach to stuff. The networking is complicated, the service mesh kind of stuff, the end-to-end, the attacking. I think is an example of where the certification path, the skill conversation is not really coupled with the real market. And sometimes I get upset when I hear people saying there is a skill gap, there is no people in cybersecurity. For sure, if you expect that everybody is specialized on pen testing because you don't care about forensics, you don't look at the tons of people that is unemployed because we are closing tons of data centers, and you expect that everybody just do metasploit, probably is the reason why you don't see people around. There is a tons of professional with 10 years of experience that you would like to have an opportunity to get into the security field, but found struggle because it doesn't come from, it doesn't fit that vertical job profile. I'm really keen to see in the future that this melting of skills will let more people to get in and the mesh will be wider to pass through that. I do invest personally more on multitude of skills because I do think is the only real way to stay relevant in the market. We In 20 years, I could have been already dinosaur because from on-prem on cloud there was a big jump. Study and go down the technology path is what make me survive so far. And so my suggestion is don't underestimate the technology, don't be and keep the passion for technology itself because it will be way relevant. That engineering part, it will be relevant for a while. I do forecast after a bit it will not be anymore because it will be all as a service. And so we will move more on getting services on that. You see already the direction of certain cloud service provider offering the machine learning on top of a SIEM SaaS. So think also on the long term. how long it will take for you to have the skills and what you should focus on. Personally, for example, I'm doing the certification of Google Cloud on data analyst because I do see even the approach of Power BI into security, everything will be data. And I do see that the automation, the mobile platform to take way more space than before. Now there is Kotlin that can do iOS and Android at the same time. I see a lot of demarcation line falling and becoming more integrated kind of platform. Language-wise, excluding JavaScript, that is a bit of a conversation on its own. I see a more flat approach. It's becoming way easier. So stay focused. Also, if you want to do security, don't forget the part of DevOps. Don't forget the part of technology. They spend time into the internals of a kernel, for example, if you want to do forensics. Don't rely only on tools, because tomorrow everybody will know how to use a tool. You need to make a difference. That is my message. And if I can help on something in my small world, I try, as I told you, in my website, you find some resources. I wrote, for example, about the syllabus of CREST, but it's really good. I'm stressing in my forum, sometimes if you don't have the money for expensive things, think about book. And even if you have the money, books can be good. I personally use O'Reilly. Safari Bookshelf is more than 10 years that I do use that. I just love it because I can search for a topic, read the portion of a book discussing that topic without having the entire book. I'm not here, you see from my channel, I have almost zero subscriber. I'm not sponsored. I don't get any, you don't see any fancy link with referral. It's a really honest sharing of what I do. I see platform like a Cloud Guru to go in the right direction on that. I like to see Microsoft with the training and what they are doing. It's quite smart, providing the free training, having everything. I like a lot, and I do personally love the approach of Google Cloud because Kiwik Lab is just brilliant. I did the certification on Google Security there, and the continuous jump with a ready lab without having too much time at my hands was perfect. All Google pattern in terms of training with Coursera is really well tailored because you get it straight from the top, straight from there. Really good. AWS is starting to provide really good training, but I do really value a lot the Kubernetes part, for example, that I don't see popular across colleagues. And that's it. I just wanted to have a wide open conversation. Don't focus on what you see now in the job spec. I did I, I did base a lot on job specs in the past because I wanted that type of job, and so I was checking who was doing the job that I wanted to do, and I checked their curriculum, I checked what they studied, I reverted engineering the all job specs, trying to understand what was the requirement to get and reach that level. But I think right now you can't do it anymore. First of all, the job specs are terrible most of the time, so are just copy and paste of whatever. So just focus on the company that you know that are having that kind of forward thinking. I mentioned some, but you do have your own. Check a lot also startup scene. They generally try to build in security right now in a better manner sometimes. Depends on the startup. and it's not obviously always a reference. You can find startups that can be terrible at security. So what I mean is trying to check the technology, trying to be passionate about the technology. When you understand the technology, whatever job you want to go for is becoming way easier. And don't focus on the requirement of today. Think long term, because we will always have a job, but the type of job will change. That is my vision. And so I suppose probably the part that will change less will be the compliance one in somehow, unfortunately. I would see risk more interface with threat modeling, for example, but I don't see that on the short run. On the long run, probably will change, but for sure will be the role probably more static in somehow. The role of a CISO, I don't know. It's big long bet. I'm not 100% sure how will change. I saw the last 10 years changing because I started to work with CTO because they were the one looking at the security. So when I started in 2001, 2005, 2008, it was always CTO to talk to. 2010 was starting to change. You started to see more technical people. Later on, only political. Now, later, the head of information security role started to be a driver to have the most technical person there. What I forecast is the CTO will take a big share of it, of the security part. And so we could find the head of information security kind of role moving a bit toward the head of engineering, and we could see probably the CISO responsibility to be more toward the supply chain frameworks, because actually you'll have a lot of interaction across vendors, across company, and so we could expect that the supply chain framework will be a driver of how this CISO will look in the future. I do expect also the incident response collaboration across vendors to change completely, and I do expect it will be heavily based on data. And so the conversation that I had before, it, it will be more and more relevant on that. And that's it. I hope I didn't bore you. You can contact me at any time if you want my opinion about integration and other things. You can find my book on Amazon. You have in my website a lot of resources. Double check those. Contact me at any time here on YouTube, on LinkedIn, wherever. If I can help you, and I try to participate to the community, and so I'm here. Okay, take it easy. Cheers. Bye bye.